Stitch represents children with abusive and neglectful parents, while Lilo experiences trauma after the death of her parents. Psychologists have even suggested that Lilo is on the autism spectrum. Lilo and Stitch is a film that, at first glance, appears to be a charming children's story. However, upon closer inspection, we discover it tackles much deeper and darker themes. Stitch, the extraterrestrial protagonist, was illegally created by a mad scientist, Dr. Jumba, and is seen as an abomination by the director of the Galactic Federation, who exiles him for his destructive and violent nature. This initial rejection can be interpreted as a metaphor for how abused children often feel marginalized and misunderstood. In his escape, Stitch arrives on Earth, specifically in Hawaii, where he meets Lilo, a peculiar girl also dealing with significant trauma, the recent death of her parents. Lilo is not understood by her peers, which leads her to have ideas and behaviors that others consider strange. Her relationship with Stitch becomes a reflection of her own struggle to find control and comfort in a world that feels unsafe. Lilo lives with her older sister, Nani, who at 19 years old has become her legal guardian. The dynamic between Lilo and Nani is tense, but full of love, and Nani does everything possible to care for her sister while facing the constant threat that social worker, Mr. Bubbles, might separate them due to the difficulties in maintaining a stable and orderly life. A particularly revealing scene is when Lilo arrives late to her hula class and explains that she was buying peanut butter for her pet fish, who, according to her, controls the weather. This fantasy is a defense mechanism that gives Lilo a sense of control amid her emotional chaos. The adults around her understand her situation and treat her with compassion, although they do not always know how to help her effectively. Lilo not only deals with the loss of her parents, but also with the challenge of being understood by those around her. Her dance teacher, though compassionate, and her classmates, who often reject her, represent the difficulties of a child struggling to fit into a world that is not always kind to those who are different. For his part, Stitch is a genetic experiment programmed for destruction, but his interaction with Lilo leads him to discover a new way of being. Although he initially follows his destructive impulses, the need to belong and be accepted by Lilo motivates him to change. This evolution of Stitch shows how love and connection can transform even the most damaged natures. The bond between Lilo and Stitch deepens when Lilo tells Stitch the story of the ugly duckling, who finds happiness by being accepted by a family. This deeply resonates with Stitch, who longs to belong and be loved. In the end, when the director of the Galactic Federation sees the change in Stitch and the strong relationship he has formed with Lilo, she decides to allow him to stay on Earth, recognizing the importance of family and love. In parallel, we see Nani struggling to keep her little family together. She sacrifices her own dreams and works tirelessly to provide a safe home for Lilo. Her relationship with David, a close friend who also has a romantic interest in her, shows the importance of having a support network in difficult times. David is a character who, although not the center of the story, represents the kindness and unconditional support we all need in moments of adversity. The film also shows us the tension between Nani and Lilo. In a moment of desperation, Nani kicks a car, not knowing it belongs to Mr. Bubbles, the social worker. This incident symbolizes how sometimes our impulsive actions, born of stress and frustration, can have serious consequences. However, it also reflects Nani's deep love and desperation to protect her younger sister. A particularly moving scene is when Lilo, in a fit of sadness, locks the door and immerses herself in the melancholic music of Elvis Presley. This moment perfectly captures the pain and loneliness she feels, and how she takes refuge in small rituals and fantasies to cope with her loss. It is a reminder of how children often find unique ways to deal with trauma. As the story progresses, the relationship between Lilo and Stitch becomes a lifeline for both. Lilo finds in Stitch a friend who understands and loves her unconditionally despite her peculiarities and emotional difficulties. For his part, Stitch learns to control his destructive impulses and discovers the importance of connection and family love. The scene where Stitch, after causing havoc, hugs Lilo and says, "Ohana means family, and your family never leaves you or forgets you," is one of the most emotional in the film. The story's conclusion is a powerful testament to the healing capacity through love and empathy. When Stitch rescues Lilo from Captain Gantu, we see a significant change in his character. He is no longer the destructive experiment that arrived on Earth, but a being who has found his place and purpose in the love he shares with Lilo and her family. It shows us how family, whether by blood or chosen, can be a refuge of love, support, and healing. The film also reminds us that everyone, no matter how different or damaged we feel, deserves to be loved and to have a place to call home. In conclusion, Lilo and Stitch is a masterpiece that goes beyond being a simple children's film. It is a moving portrait of the struggle to find belonging and love amidst adversity. It is a testament to the power of love to heal and transform, and a celebration of family in all its forms. This film invites us to reflect on our own relationships and the importance of being compassionate and supportive of those going through difficult times. Thank you for joining me in this analysis. What other films would you like us to analyze? Leave it in the comments and the most voted will be considered for future videos. See you next time.